On to our rants and raves, and for this show we're going to start with Mike Nikitas.
Well, I have a rave. I'd like to offer a rave about something that Callie first mentioned last week, and that's the new 60 Minutes Plus streaming version of 60 Minutes that starts on Paramount. It started last night, actually. And the first one last night I thought was pretty good, and I thought they did a good job on one story in particular with the first interview of the QAnon shaman Jacob Chansley, who we all saw on pictures on January 6th. He's been charged. He's in jail, as you can see. I think it was revealing not only for his motivations, but also the motivations of perhaps others who rioted at the Capitol on January 6th. Now, he said a lot of lame things in the interview. I don't know if you saw it. He said, I was there to create positive vibrations in a sacred chamber, and I prevented people from stealing the muffins from the break room. But he also still said, I believe the election is fraudulent. He said Donald Trump had his back, and he was deeply wounded by the president not giving him and others a pardon. I found it interesting.
Usually I would wait to talk, but I got to tell you, that was going to be my rant for this week. I dropped it when I learned that you were raving for it, but I watched the whole interview, and I thought the interviewer was hopelessly overmatched. She starts off telling him it's an attack on the Capitol. He then proceeds to say, no, I'm getting a raw deal here. People aren't being fair to me, and also the election was stolen. And I didn't think there was any meaningful pushback. So divergent takes, a multitude of perspectives here on Beat the Press. Joanna, you're up next.
So I have a rave for Oprah Winfrey, who has proven again this week that she is the queen of international media based on an upcoming CBS special that you may have heard about.
Almost unsurvivable sounds like there was a breaking point.
My biggest concern was history repeating itself.
You've said some pretty shocking things here. Wait, hold up.
So, yeah, whether the world needs a 2-hour special on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, or whether the world was even asking for it, is an open question. But the truth is it's happening, and not only has it been, the distribution rights have been sold to dozens of countries, and CBS extended it from an hour and a half to 2 hours, but Buckingham Palace has been leaking furiously in anticipation of it. So, Oprah, she's gold.
Almost makes me want to watch it. Not quite. Susie.
I definitely will be watching, just for the record. I have a combined rant and rave, which I guess is cheating, but nobody's going to stop me. I wanted to talk about the Woody Allen doc, the Allen versus Farrow doc that's been airing on HBO. I think the filmmakers have just done a really phenomenal job. I was able to screen the third episode that airs this Sunday before it was released, and it has some really damning material in it. And I think, it's just so that's the rave part, right? These filmmakers have done just a really brilliant job. And the rant part is that you see in this film just how much the media accepted Woody Allen's narrative of who Mia Farrow was. And that's really part of this trend we're seeing of reevaluating women who were sort of treated in very sort of negative ways. And it's nice to see these stories getting revisited and people getting a chance to examine what actually happened.
Definitely. Dan, Lothian.
Well, I have a rant for what appears to be really increasing attacks on journalists around the world. Oftentimes when journalists are killed, we don't really even hear about it unless it's a big name person. But it is happening just about every week somewhere. Just this week in Somalia, an outspoken journalist was murdered. In Afghanistan, 3 journalists who had junior roles were killed. In India, journalists talked about intimidation and death threats. And there's this real concern that, the more that this continues, the more you'll see journalists either self-censoring, in other words, not reporting what they should be reporting, or just leaving the business altogether. So I think we need to continue to put that spotlight on these attacks that are happening to journalists all around the world.
All right, I'll go very quickly here. I have a rave for a new podcast called La Brega, which is produced out of WNYC. It is basically all about Puerto Rico and the Puerto Rican experience, a part of the United States that a lot of us, myself included, tend not to think too much about. I'm a few episodes in. It's fascinating, and I'd highly recommend it to everyone.